Good afternoon, Ore Diggers, and welcome to our first lunch bunch of 2022. It's great to have everyone back again for a new year of programming. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Andy Flynn, class of 86 and 98, and Director of Alumni Engagement here at Mines. If this is your first lunch bunch, welcome. And for those of you who are regular attendees, thank you for your continued interest and support, and welcome back. We are glad to have you with us today as we continue our monthly look at the people and programs that make Mines great. Our guest this month is Mines Executive Vice President, Kirsten Volpi, who will give us an update on all of the recent construction projects on campus, as well as those that are on the drawing board. The Mines landscape indeed continues to expand, change, and improve. From student housing to new labs and research buildings, campus construction kicks into high gear this year. For our faculty and staff joining us today, you can regularly catch a glimpse of what's going on when you're on campus. But for alums on the call, it may have been a while since you've last paid a visit to the Mines campus. We welcome you to come by in person or for a visit or enjoy a virtual tour of campus to see what's new. And we have a link to that virtual tour on the admissions page of the main Mines website, mines.edu. We know you'll love what you see, and there's more to come as we continue to enhance the resources, support, and facilities that shape our amazing students, as well as the entire Mines community. Before Kirsten begins, a few quick reminders, as we do each month. Any questions that you submitted with your RSVP have been shared with our speaker. And if you think of a question during the program, please feel free to use the chat feature. We'll keep an eye on it. And if we run out of time and don't get to your question, we'll circle back with you after the program. All of our Lunch Bunch programs are recorded and can be accessed on the Lunch Bunch page of the alumni website at weare.mines.edu. So if you missed one, want to listen again, or would like to share the program with a friend, click on the View Previous Events button at the bottom of the page to access the archive. Lastly, if you have any ideas for future speakers or topics, we want to know about them. Please contact me, Ruth, or anyone in the alumni office with your suggestions. With that, welcome, Kirsten.
All right, thank you, Andy. And it's so good to see so many familiar faces here today. And I must say, I know that there's many of our design and construction team that are on today. I think they're going to keep me honest with what I have to say today. But as Andy mentioned, my name is Kirsten Volpi. I'm the Executive Vice President at Mines. I've been at Mines for since about 2005, left for a couple of years, but loved Mines so much that I had to come back. So I'm happy to really be part of this great leadership team. And my areas of responsibility are primarily the finance, the operations, IT, construction and design, planning, tuition, all of that good stuff. Facilities is under me. So I'm really proud to be able to support Mines in this way. So I've got a presentation here for you. And as Andy said, feel free to put a question in a chat or raise your hand. And if Ruth or Andy want to stop me midway, if there's a pertinent question to what I'm talking about, happy to take questions as we go. So I wanted to start just very briefly with the goals of our strategic plan, because how we are transforming campus and what we're planning for campus is completely synced with where are we headed and our Mines at 150 strategic plan. So we have 7 key goals that are within the plan. I'm not going to go through all of them because I'm sure many of you have heard either President Johnson or others talk about the plan over the last couple of years. But really what sums it up is what's here on the left, is that we really want Mines to be top of mind, first choice university. And so in order to do that, we're focusing on these main areas. So what we have done is said, okay, this is our roadmap. This is where we're headed and how we get there. So what do we need to do from an infrastructure perspective to get there? So, so we have a master plan that we recently redeveloped, with the strategic plan as our guidepost, as our guiding light to tell us where we need to be. And so I will, as I go through our conversation today, I will dive a little bit deeper into some of the elements of the strategic plan and how we are achieving those goals through the infrastructure. And you can see here, this is just a snippet of campus. It doesn't include the entire survey field that's up on the west side of 6th Avenue, but this is the main core of campus that we did the majority of our planning. So I'm going to go through several projects today. There's a couple main projects that I'll go through in a little bit more detail. One is the Labriola Innovation Complex, which is construction is underway. The next is the Beck Venture Center, which will soon see construction sometime later this year. We're also in the planning phases for several major initiatives, the Mines Park redevelopment and the Minerals and Energy Resources building. So, so I will dive a little bit deeper into each of those as we go through. But, you know, again, as we look at the main, one of the main goals of the strategic plan, one of them is to be a producer of differentiated and highly desired STEM educated leaders and a leader in educating STEM students and professionals. So as achieving part of this goal, entrepreneurship and innovation is significant in how we want to see our students come through Mines, how they work, how they learn, and how they progress through Mines is in a very hands-on, innovative entrepreneurship way. And so we've already started with great support from Charlie McNeil. We've opened the McNeil Center for Entrepreneurship, which is the building that you see there on the left. That was opened last year, and it contains state-of-the-art, hands-on learning experiences for students. So many of us went to class in those really uncomfortable chairs with the boards, and you just were in this static with your pen and pencil in hand. Not anymore, and not anymore at Mines. It's a very flexible, vibrant arrangement that is used by much of our incoming first-year students and how they learn through our engineering, design, and society program. So we're really proud of that facility. It is in full swing. And if you're on campus, I encourage you to take a walk through it. And then just a little note on top of that, and it's hard to tell from the picture, and it's also kind of hard to tell when you're standing in front of the building, but there's about a 700 space parking garage that is attached to the building. The planners did a fabulous job of what I call tucking it into the side of the hill, so you don't see this 4-story parking garage. But Mines' first ever parking garage, we're very, very proud of it. The next element of the innovation for our strategic plan is the Labriola Innovation Hub, which is part of the entire Labriola Innovation Complex, which is multiple innovation centers that first start with the McNeil Center. That project is underway, and it is more of the same of hands-on learning, makerspace. It's where our capstone and cornerstone students will continue their learning, continue their designing. And it is a space where it is just almost all lab space for our students and our faculty who are working on real-world problems. That's a really exciting project. And we're hoping that'll come to fruition. The construction has begun, and it will open sometime next year. And I've got a little bit more detail on that one coming up, as well as the Beck Venture Center. If you drive down Washington Street, you might see a pile of dirt on Washington and 18th, and that will be that new home. And I'll chat about that in a little bit. Much of this is also stemming from the growth that we've seen. Since my time at Mines, we've always tried to manage our growth, in particular on the undergraduate side, to keep Mines a place where we have really good, strong student to teacher ratios and really good opportunities for students to be able to engage in a smaller environment. Well, the demand has just been significant. And this last fall, we entered our largest class at 1,449 freshmen, which makes us at about almost 5,500 total undergraduate students. When you add that with our graduate students and our online students, we're approaching 7,200 students. So we are a university that continues to grow in many respects. So talking a little bit about a great community for our students to learn, to explore, to live and work. As I mentioned, our numbers are going up. We have implemented and built already Spruce Hall, which is right next to the home of the Alumni Association and the foundation on the corner of 19th and Illinois. It's a beautiful, little bit over a 400-bed residence hall for our students. And then we also engaged in a partnership with a local developer, and we built Jackson Hall, which is right across from Safeway, which houses about 330 students. So both of those residence halls, not only are they important just for a place for our students to live and to be, but it's really key and critical as Golden and the surrounding community is becoming so much more expensive to live in. Ability to find housing is very difficult. And we really are wanting to have a place for our students to be able to not have to focus on where am I going to live next year, but focus on their studies, their co-curricular activities, and to be able to be in a place where they can, call home and be comfortable. So that is the start of those two residence halls that have been built. And then we are engaging in a complete redevelopment of Mines Park. I'll go through that in a little bit more detail, but that will also support our upper level students and our graduate students in their ability to learn and live and explore. So a little bit more on the Labriola Innovation Complex that I mentioned earlier. So up in the far right picture, if you can, some of you may remember where the old ROTC building was at the corner of West Campus Drive and Maple Street. And right across from the library and right across from Volk Gymnasium, you'll see where the McNeil Hall is. And that little tucked in parking garage that I mentioned. And then behind there is the entire Labriola Innovation Center, which does house all of that hands-on multidisciplinary work that our students in Cornerstone and Capstone will do, and that will be home for many of our faculty as well. It's a 2-story building. As I mentioned, construction is underway. It actually won't be complete fall 22. That's not inaccurate. I know some of my team members right now are probably having heart attacks. I know that that'll be sometime in fall 23. The fantastic part about this building, as with many of our buildings, is this is really funded by a hybrid resource approach, where we had a fantastic lead donor in Mr. and Mrs. Labriola, and also then sponsored by other donors as well. And then the students being so interested in this innovative type of learning and teaching, they also put some of their money via student fee towards this building. So we were really pleased to be able to have this facility used by the students, and they're paying for part of it, which is really important to them, as well as the donor support that we've got. So this is going to be a really exciting facility. You can see the the all glass building look that is on the top left, and then just a little snippet on what the inside will look like. The Beck Venture Center, as I mentioned, it's on the corner of Washington and between 18th and 17th. And what this is it's really a business incubator and entrepreneurship center. So the vision of this building is to have the students and the faculty work in the innovation hub, work on prototypes, work on their designs. And if they're in a position and a mode to see, is what I've developed commercial, if they want to take it to the market, then they can utilize the Beck Venture Center for that next step and for what that looks like, and for whether it's marketing or whether it's getting design support or legal support and how to maybe form a startup. That will all be happening in the Beck Venture Center. And this facility too will be resourced by multiple different venues, where we've already received about $7.5 million in direct philanthropic support. We've got funding that the university will be putting towards it. And we've already started a little bit of the construction by demolishing the parking lot that it's on, but we'll get underway in more earnest later this year. And again, the lead donor on this was Mr. and Mrs. Beck, who have just such a really rich entrepreneurial vision and mindset. And interesting, they're not alums, but their kids went to Mines, and they were just so impressed with Mines that they really wanted to support the vision of entrepreneurship. So again, another exciting building. This is the next, as we look at research, research has been growing over the last couple of years. Mine's about 3 years ago was at about 55 million in research awards. This last year we hit almost 90 million. So research is an important part of our future. And this building, this will support some of our research needs, but it will also really solidify a partnership that we have with the U.S. Geological Survey. We have worked with them for years and have had multiple joint appointments with faculty members and USGS researchers, as well as with agreements on co-located and co-designed research. And what we're doing here is really taking a really important step forward, where starting, about in 2016, the head of the U.S. Geological Survey and President Johnson got together and developed a memorandum of understanding of where we would become stronger partners, so much so that we would have the USGS's Minerals and Energy Division located on the Mines campus. Many of you know that we have the USGS Earthquake Center, National Earthquake Center on campus, and this building will go directly behind that in what is currently a parking lot, but we'll go right behind that, which is just to the east. And so we are in the planning phases. This has been as I noted, it started in about 2016. This has been a long going project that was one that got paused with the pandemic. We had contracted with a contractor and we're ready to move forward. But the uncertainty of what impacts that pandemic was going to have on the university, this was one project that we had to pause. So we did. Well, that turned out to be a good move. I wish I could say that we had a great hindsight, but we didn't, because in working with Congressman Perlmutter, he really took up the torch, and he actually got this building fully funded in the infrastructure bill that was passed earlier in 2021. So we're thrilled to be back at the planning table. Mines will also occupy this building, so it will be minerals folks from USGS and mines. It will be energy folks from USGS and mines, as well as the laboratories that will be utilized by both. So a significant project, one that I'm very excited about. So we are, like I said, we have picked our pencils back up and are in the process of re-engaging with the team members and moving forward. And we're hoping to see construction start in 2023. It will be a federal building, so we will have all the fun processes that come with a federal building. But we think this is a terrific boost for the Mines campus. And the next project is another one that I'm really excited about. Many of you can think about what Mines Park looks like today. And it is 1980s and 1990s circa apartment buildings that are used by our graduate students, our students with families, and primarily our upper level juniors and seniors. But over the years, deferred maintenance on this whole area just has not been a focus of ours. We have been certainly making changes as time has necessitated, but they are in a place where we need significant renovations. And so as we looked at Mines Park and really determined, what does our strategic plan say? We want to be top of mind. We want to be unique. We want to be a university that people can look at and say, I want to go to engineering and science. I'm going to go to Mines. And so we are transforming Mines Park into really a sustainable village. So sustainability is a big underpinning of the outcomes of the renovation and the redesign and redevelopment of Mines Park. We will be renovating some of the units, and we will be tearing down some of the units and rebuilding. But right now we have a little over 530 beds, and we will go to more than 1,000 beds. So adding about 500 additional beds to Mines Park. And as I noted, it really, our intent is to really create something that's special and unique. And so we are partnering with a developer in a different kind of an arrangement, a public-private partnership, where the project is being designed and built and operated and maintained by the developer and the development team. So you can see a rendering in the bottom left of kind of an early version of an aerial view, and then what some of the apartments might look like in the bottom right. The first phase of renovation will start this summer. We're going to go pretty quickly, and then next summer will be the next phase. So we will be having a lot of construction up in that area over the next couple of years, so that in 2024 we'll be done, and we'll be done with all of the sustainability features that we're implementing, as well as just creating its own village. There will be dining and rec up there, and it will be really a comfortable, welcoming place for our upper level students to live. So very, very excited about this project. Another fun project is we're expanding solar on campus. We do have solar that's on our Jackson Street apartment complex. And our team is working with a company to really expand our solar footprint on campus. So you can see a couple of the examples on the left. That little picnic table is one of my favorite things, but we want to be very visible on campus with showing how are we using renewable energy. So we will have picnic tables, we will have parking lot covers, and we will have rooftops. You'll see on the left, we've got quite a few rooftop covers that we'll be installing. So I know that work is underway, And again, that is a really important project for who we are at Mines with Earth, Energy, and an Environment. And there's a couple of projects that we have in the planning phases right now. As I mentioned earlier, research has really been growing over the last couple of years. We have a lot of new faculty that have come on board that are just extremely research active. And we've got a lot of really great partnerships with private industry, with other universities, as well as the federal government. And so research has really expanded. So we are right now in the process of looking at what our next research building is. So you heard me mention the research that'll go on in the USGS Minerals and Energy Resources building. That will help with some of our research needs, but we, through our initial assessment, we may need a whole nother building. So we're doing that analysis now to see what the timing is, what kind of research, but our initial assessment, it could be a building that's focused on sustainability, environment, materials, and processing. So stay tuned on that one. Again, more research focused, but we have some imminent needs because we're growing so fast of needing flexible space like yesterday. So we are in the throes right now of developing a smaller scale, about a 25,000 square foot building that will actually be up in the Mines Park area that will really help us with kind of the needs of today with more multifaceted research systems and kind of bench type research. So we're looking forward to that, meeting more of our emergent needs. We've also, as a campus, have talked for some time about making Mines more accessible to families or to employees and graduate students, and how do we manage? It's really not a balance because it's difficult, but how do we manage work? How do we manage our personal life, and what does that look like? And so for several years, we've done studies on impacts of daycare centers on universities as well as on corporate America, and have found that if there is an employee or a graduate student with a child nearby, then it's much easier for that person to be satisfied with their work and to be in a position where they're just more comfortable, less days out of work, etc. So this whole analysis showed us that that a daycare center would be feasible at Mines. So this was one project as well that we had to put our pencils down when the pandemic hit again, due to the uncertainty of where we're going to be financially through the pandemic. None of us knew what was going to happen. So we did pick our pencils back up. Cost escalations are happening. And so we're trying to, manage the size of the center with how we're seeing construction costs. And so we're really in the middle of our planning process and trying to determine what's the right fit of the center for Mines, what's the right location, just to make sure that, we do it right on all fronts. So that's another project that I'm excited about. We're already working with a third-party operator to move that focus along. So very, very key for us. There's a lot of other little things, in the works, but for now, those are some of the major things that we've recently accomplished, that we are in the middle of getting the planning done, and then these other projects that we've got a little bit more planning to do before we can put more context on it. So I am happy to take any questions, Ruth, if there's anything in the chat or anybody has their hand raised.
I do see a couple of comments from Ron Vasquez. Where's Ron? Ron, just talking in general about, the innovation that we are embracing. Many of the solar oriented projects might be products of our own materials department, things like that. So Ron, do you want to comment or share those comments out loud with everybody? You can read them in the chat too.
Yeah, once in a while in the Mines magazine, we'll see something how the materials department is developing some real more efficient solar panels. And some of these little benches, the tables you have out there and some other places would be good opportunities to, look at the more efficient solar panels and see how they perform. And of course, the grad students can provide all that, all the folks working on it. And then the second comment has to do with, there's a book called 2030 that's written by one of the business people from Wharton School of Business, talking about a lot of the amount of technology and innovation that's supposed to be going on this decade, I guess, rivals what happened in earlier decades, like when transportation kicked in, stuff in the Industrial Revolution, the computer IT, and all that. So it's good to see that Mines is really involved in all these different research facilities. So you can be a pretty significant player in all that. So that's it. So.
Yeah, Ron, the first point that you made, absolutely. And what we do with all of our initiatives is try to get the related faculty members square in the middle of our planning. So, so the solar panels, I do know those were purchased by our vendors. So those are not, Mines related, if you will. But when I was mentioning the sustainable village that we are developing up in Mines Park, we do have a faculty member that is right in the middle of helping us kind of make those decisions and help us understand how Mines can help, and what can we do from an innovative perspective, and how might we look at things. So I completely agree with you on both fronts. Yeah.
Oh, good. Sounds like a lot of net zero buildings then, basically, would be going on.
Yeah, so Mines Park, it's the tough thing is cost. As the construction industry saw about a 10 to 12% increase in cost just in the last quarter. So we're planning for net zero energy. We were trying for net zero water, still trying to work that out. Cost may be an inhibitor, but we've got some creative ideas there too. So yeah, absolutely.
Kirsten, I see a comment in the chat from Matt Ketterling. And Matt, I smiled when I saw this comment from you because I thought the same thing. Lots of exciting new structures, but it seems like many of them are being built on the very places where we had parking lots. So where is it going? We've got a parking garage, which is amazing. And for those of us who've used it, I think you'll agree. It's just, wow, it's awesome. On a cold, snowy day, it's nice to have a covered spot. And I can always use the walk from the garage to my office.
Yeah.
Are there plans for more lots or another garage? And Matt,
there is. I didn't put it on the list because we don't have the numbers all worked out quite yet. But if you can think about it, my picture where I had the Beck Venture Center right there, paralleling Washington Street, parking garage number 2 will go right behind it, because we are taking up a lot of parking lots. And because our space on the east side of 6th Avenue is so confined. So great question. Yes, parking garage 2. I didn't have enough context of size and shape and et cetera, but it will be, especially with the Minerals and Energy Resource Building taking up a parking lot or 2. The garage will go in before that building. So we've got a consultant working on it, but I don't have a lot of the details.
Very good. Thank you. Todd Ruskell, I see you've got a comment. Do you want to just ask your question aloud with regard to academic and classroom space?
I can do that. All of these adventures that you've described here and are very exciting, and I think are really super, super important. But one of the things that you pointed out was that we're already 400 students, undergraduates, above where our target was for 2024. And that number is likely to continue to get bigger. So what kind of next project is there for addressing the subsequent need for both more and probably some larger classroom spaces to help educate all of these students, especially at the intro levels where we still have core things that need to be taught?
Yeah. Hi, Todd. Great question. So that's a multifaceted answer. And one of the elements that we've just as the new year turned over and have really started to look at all of the planning initiatives is, could there be a classroom building on our horizon? However, as the buildings go up, we are being very intent on making sure that there are classrooms of the appropriate size, that is kind of the need size that we hear from the registrar's office. So the Minerals and Energy Resources building will have classrooms in it. Certainly McNeil Hall is a new building that has classrooms in it, definitely more flexible classrooms, but it has 2 floors of classrooms. Labriola, I think, has a classroom in it. And then one other thing we're doing, and this, one thing that all of this Zoom world has benefited is we have about 38 38-ish computer labs on campus, meaning you walk in a room with 38 with a bunch of chairs and computers for students to go in and do their work. Well, in the world of virtualness, we are transitioning those to the cloud so that we can then open up all of those rooms for standard classrooms. So, but to your point, Todd, they all may not be the right size. So we are actually doing a classroom inventory of what exactly do we have? What do we think? What do we know is coming online with new buildings? What'll come online with all these renovations? And then that'll tell us, okay, what are our needs? So that is just, we haven't commissioned it yet, but that will be commissioned in the next couple of months.
Good. Thanks, Kirsten. And I do see another question here from Savannah regarding the daycare center. You mentioned that you're all just picking up your pencils again to figure out how and where and how big and who. So her question, as you can see in the chat, talks about what might be a prospective timeline to have your plan in place and to do a groundbreaking. I think
Yeah, Savannah, great question. And I get this question a lot because we've had a lot of fits and start, and the primary reason is daycare centers, and I don't know how they work out there, and I'll call it in the real world, but daycare centers, they're from a financial perspective have to be subsidized. So we're trying to manage the level of subsidy that the university will have to put into the center with the tuition levels, the student numbers. So we have had multiple different options. We've looked at renovation, new build, smaller building, bigger building, different locations. So Savannah, I would love to be able to give you a date. I think it is on the topic for our next week's finance committee with the board, and with the board in early February for me to give them a verbal update. And I am hoping that I can have a solution to bring back to them at our April board meeting. So, stay tuned. I've put dates out there before, and because things didn't work, it didn't work out. But stay tuned. It's an active push that I continue to work with our team and work with what's the right mix of the financials and the support of our campus.
I see a question from Rod McNeil. Rod, you're asking about somewhat of a follow-on to Todd Ruskell's question about classroom usage and space. And you can see Rod's note. Oh, I guess it's just to me, so I'll read
Yeah,
it.
I can't see Rod's note.
Will classrooms be used more on weekends and nights? I'm sure they already are, but will they be used more going forward on the weekends and at night?
Yeah, and I think that is part of this, part of the equation of classrooms is when do you use them? And I know that we are, Todd, you're probably better than I am to know, your department and how much more you have spread out your teaching time. But I do know we are already having classes that are going into the evenings and also on Saturdays. The level of that usage, Rod, I don't know. But I do know that was part of the solution when, we saw this big class coming in, because we still want to manage that student to teacher ratio. And the only way to do that is have more sections and then kind of spread out the week.
Kirsten, I have a question if I can chime in, and my question may seem like small potatoes compared to all the other big projects that are on the drawing board. They're huge and they're multifaceted and very complicated. But as an older gal who's picked up her tennis racket again after many moons, I want to know what the future of the tennis courts is on the Mines campus. I walk by them all the time. They've been there forever. Is that sort of a spot that eventually is going to be eaten up by another building? Are they going to be torn up? I mean, do you know? Is there a plan?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I used to get that one all the time, but not so much anymore. So thank you for re-emerging that question. So it's interesting how expensive it is to pour a tennis court base, because what we've done is look to pour new tennis courts up at Mines Park, and clearly didn't have the money, so they sit cracked and not very well used. But our master plan does have on the tennis courts is the new athletics office. So many of you might know that the athletics offices are split between kind of the Volpi gymnasium area and then the new football, not new anymore, sorry, the football stadium. So it's so they're kind of spread out. They're growing as well as our student body grows. So in the future, not in the next couple of years, but it's planned for a new home for athletics administration. And then new tennis courts, we haven't figured out yet where they go.
Okay, Ron, you and I are on this because Ron's asking about pickleball. Who plays pickleball?
Oh, there you go.
Okay, so we're on it. we're gonna hold you to it. Oh, thank you. Does anyone, who else has a question? Please feel free to unmute and chime in. Anyone else? We've got a big group here, so give it another minute or so if you are thinking about something you want to learn more about. Okay. Well, we are getting toward the end of our time. It's about 10 minutes to 1, and we work hard to meet that 1 o'clock stop time. So before we do, and as I always do each month, I want to give a plug for next month's program. We hope you'll join us as we get to know and learn more about the projects that Dr. John Bradford is coordinating. He oversees our Global Energy Futures Initiative, and there's a lot of moving parts in that, some of which includes the facilities that Kirsten has referred to today. So we hope you'll join in. Many of you are regulars to Lunch Bunch, so you don't need reminders necessarily of where to go. But if you're new to Lunch Bunch, we meet on the third Thursday of every month from noon to 1. And the website address to register is the alumni website, which is weare.mines.edu. Again, weare.mines.edu. And if you click on events in the upper tab, you'll see all the upcoming things on the calendar, and you can click on Lunch Bunch to find out what's coming. We are working on the remainder of the spring schedule, so keep your eyes and ears open for more programs to come, and we hope you'll join us. At this point, oh, here's a question. I don't want to forget this one. Connection to the light rail station at Jeffco. Ooh, Kirsten, that's a good one.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So many of you know we launched our first autonomous vehicle or set of vehicles in the fall semester, and it worked okay. It was a pilot. They were, it was a fun pilot program. We had a lot of students involved. We had a lot of publicity, but it wasn't the right solution for mine. So we have suspended that. But what we do, we are working on with a company that actually is working on, that does have autonomous vehicles that go faster than ours that were 12 miles an hour. But that will also be able to traverse city streets much more easily than ours, and will make the connection from the Jeffco train station down to Golden. So that's a broader Golden initiative. Mines will be part of it, but it's a broader Golden initiative. Timing, that's the only problem. I don't know the timing, but I know that some members of our team are working with the private company who's also working with Golden to get that implemented, because that is such a critical connection, Jeffco light rail to Mines and to Central Golden. If we can get that solved, that would be really terrific.
Wonderful. Okay, let me turn it back over. You all know about next month, so keep that on your radar. For those of you who are faculty and staff members, you know that we promote each month's lunch bunch in the daily blast, so look for that. And as I said just a minute ago, we also post this on our website for all Mines community, alumni and friends to chime in as well and register. At this time, I'll turn it back over to Andy Flynn to close us out. And any last comments, Andy?
Great. Thank you, Ruth. And thank you, Kirsten. It was really great to have your time and to hear about the exciting new construction that plans for Mines. So, and thank you all for joining us. It was a tremendous group today for Lunch Bunch, and we hope to continue that. Your engagement with Lunch Bunch keeps you connected to school. There are a lot of other opportunities for you to be engaged. We hope you take advantage of those. We have a volunteer website that's been launched and you can connect to through our website that would provide a lot of opportunities to support potentially classes or student activities and alumni activities. So we look forward to having you engaged with us. But thank you for joining us. Have a great day and go Ore Diggers.